Hello, my name is Xonevant. Today is Friday, January the 17th, and this is your Daily Dose. Alright guys, since it's Friday, I thought we'd do like a little laid-back commentary here. I wanted to tell you guys a story, okay? So I used to work at GameStop. I was a manager there for like 6 years. And, I heard a lot of things from gamers, heard a lot of like crazy stories, just people doing crazy stuff with games and stuff like that. But there was one day, right, where World of Warcraft, Wrath of the Lich King was coming out. And this guy came into the store, and you guys know if you've shopped at GameStop before that the job of the people working there is to get you to pre-order games. That's one of their main things they have to do. We have to get so many new pre-orders per day, that sort of thing. We have goals. And so, it was probably about 11:30 in the morning. I mean, we opened at 10, so it was fairly early. I didn't have any customers in there until he came. And he starts looking around the PC section. And I knew that game was coming out, and I knew that just about everybody coming in that were our PC players, were pre-ordering that game or were super hyped about it. I think at that time we had like 70-something pre-orders on it or whatever, which was good for our store because we normally didn't get a lot of PC gamers coming in. So I go back there and I'm chatting with him, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, hey, this is probably a good time to ask him, if he wants to pre-order a copy of, Wrath of the Lich King. So, I asked him about it, and he looked at me like I had, I don't know, killed his dog or something. Like, he looked at me distraught, and I was like, hey, man, do you not like, World of Warcraft or whatever? And he's like, no, I love the game. I love the franchise. He said, I've been playing it, since the beginning. And I'm like, well, really? I said, well, why wouldn't you want to pre-order, Wrath of the Lich King? Now, I'm not really a PC player, and I don't really know much about that universe. I do have a couple of friends who are into it. And I could definitely see the appeal of being into it. It's just not, it's just not a game for me. But I wonder why he wasn't interested in it, right? If he's a PC player, blah, 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 why wouldn't he want to get the new, World of Warcraft game? So then he kind of looks at me funny. He does this weird, shimmy with his body. It's weird. And he puts his hand on our rack, right, our PC rack. And it's almost like he wants to tell me this story, but then again, he doesn't want to tell me. But he does anyway, right? He starts to tell me the story, and he says, 2 years ago, I had a wife, and I had 2 kids. We both had good jobs and all that kind of stuff, and I was into World of Warcraft. And he says I would play it all night, that sort of thing. And I'm thinking in my head, isn't that what normal WoW players do? Don't they usually play pretty much all their free time? They go on raids and all that kind of stuff. So I'm thinking this is normal. What's the issue here, right? So then he says, well, it got to the point where I got so addicted to the game that I would get up in the morning time. My wife would cook breakfast. We would send our kids off to school, that sort of thing, on the bus. And then, my wife and I, usually we would go to work about the same time. And what I would do is I would leave the house first. I would get up, put my, my suit and tie on or whatever, and I would leave the house. He said, but what I would do is I would go out around the corner and just wait in my car. And my wife would leave the house. I would come back home, get in my PJs, play the game all day long, and then, about the time that I knew that she was going to be coming home or that the kids were going to be coming home from school, I would put back on my shirt and tie, leave the house, go to that same spot. They would all come home. Then I would come home, act like I was tired from a hard day's work and that sort of stuff, and, eat dinner, spend time with the family, and then play all night. And he said, and I did that for about 2 weeks. And he says, then obviously I got fired from my job, right? I got fired from my job. They called my wife and they were like, is your husband sick or whatever? And she's like, no, he's been going to work, every day. And so he got fired. He lost his wife and his kids. They divorced. So to him, this game was like, it was an addiction. Really, it was a true addiction, and it cost him his family. And he was kind of embarrassed to tell me about it. And I'm like, look, man, that's a sad story, but there's no need for you to be embarrassed about talking about it. Being addicted to video games is like being addicted to anything else in life. Addictions are addictions, regardless of whether it's a video game or drugs or alcohol or whatever, right? All addictions have pluses and all addictions have minuses. For this guy, he was able to play his game and enjoy himself, but the bad side was that, in the process, dude lost his family. When you use drugs or when you get, you know, when you drink a lot of alcohol and when you get the buzz and all that kind of stuff. But the negative effects are that you could, you know, hit somebody driving, you know, you could kill somebody, you could, you know, wake up somewhere that you don't know where you are. You know, for girls, you guys know where that can go for girls who get drunk and that sort of thing. So bad things happen, you know, when you get addicted to things. And I'm only telling you guys this. I'm not picking on WoW players. I'm not picking on the World of Warcraft people, but just gaming in general, man. You know, it's a hobby. It's there for fun, but don't let it take your life over. You know, just don't, man. Don't ever become so addicted to a video game that you neglect life. You know, spending time with your family, going to your job. And I've had that happen to me before, even when I was working at GameStop, where I remember I was playing 3D Dot Game Heroes. That game is epic for the PS3, phenomenal game. And I remember I would be sitting here playing that game right before I would have to go into work at 2 o'clock, and it would be like 1, and my job is 30 minutes away, and I would play that game till like 1:35, and then I would cut it off, and I would barely get to work on time. But I would have to speed to get to work, which is endangering other people on the highway. It's endangering myself, you know. So there's negative consequences. So, you know, the point of this commentary is not to poke fun at this guy or laugh at this guy or laugh at gamers or anything like that. It's just to say, hey, you know, when you're playing these games, they're fun, but, you know, put the controller down every now and again, stretch your legs, go work out, you know, spend some time with the family, get out there, and you know, and don't get addicted to video games. It's very easy to get addicted to video games because they're interactive, you know what I mean? And you do feel like you're sometimes a part of that experience because you're interacting with it. But, you know, bad things can happen, and in this guy's case, he lost his family. That's crazy, dude. So, you know, maybe your situation wouldn't be as dire as his, but still there can be some negative effects to, you know, becoming so addicted to a video game universe that you neglect what's actually happening. And, you know, wrapping up this story, you know, I said, you know, I asked the guy, I said, did you not realize that while you were missing work that you were going to eventually lose your job and that sort of thing? He says, nah, I was so into the universe of that game and the experience and the overall feeling I got when I played that I was numb to what reality, like what was happening in actual reality. I did not realize there was going to be any, you know, consequences for me not going to my job. I did not even think about it. He says, had I thought about it, yeah, of course, I would have, you know, not played the game as much and went to work. But when you're in it that deep, when you're that addicted, you don't think about the consequences. And like I said, even though this is video games, you hear that same mindset with other addictions like drugs and alcohol and all this other stuff, right? That they get this tunnel vision where it's all about what they're doing at the moment and they can't see what's really happening, you know, on the outside of that bubble. So that's kind of why I wanted to share that with you guys. It's probably one of the, and I say crazy, it's not meaning that this guy's crazy, but you get my point. I don't know of any other word to say there. Maybe that's the wrong word, but it's one of the craziest stories I've heard as I was a manager at GameStop, and I've heard a lot of stories. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below, and if you've ever been addicted to a video game or other addictions, were you able to think about the negative effects of being addicted to said thing, or were you just thinking about, you know, what was actually happening at the moment, which seems to happen a lot when you're addicted to certain things. And we'll take it from there. All right, guys, hopefully you enjoyed that story. Make sure to check out yesterday's video if you missed it. And today's YouTube Spotlight shines on a channel called The Smith Plays. He actually did a commentary about motivation and what motivates him to do YouTube. It was very good. So I checked it out yesterday, thought I would share it with you guys today. Make sure to check out the sub of the day. Links are all on the screen and in the description below. And I will see you guys tomorrow. And remember, if you even go one day without your dose. You guys ever seen the movie Aliens? Well, I don't think there's anything left to say now, is there?
I ain't going back in.
You can't help them. You can't. Right now they're being cocooned just like the others.